Today I'm going through just a few questions I've gotten regarding the Faire platform and how I've handled these. I'm just going to jump right in. This will be a quick video going over just a few things. So if you have more questions about Faire, drop them in the comments below and I'll respond to you, or I'll film an answer in a future video. The first question I get is, how many products did you list on Faire in the beginning? I had about 10 products and each of those products had multiple variations. I shouldn't say each, but quite a few of those products had multiple variations. So a different color, a different size, something like that. So I didn't have the biggest store to begin with, but there was a lot of variations. What are your tips for getting your first sale on Faire? First of all, I'd say make sure that your store is completely set up before you launch. You want to make sure that everything is in order, everything's working, you have all your products listed. Don't list one or two products and then hit the launch button, because you do get a little bit of a boost from Faire in your first few weeks of selling. I can't quite remember how long that period is, but you can look that up, or they'll tell you when you sign up, but they'll give you a boost. They'll put your store in front of more customers. They'll show you to more people. They'll drive a little bit more traffic. You want to make sure to use that time wisely. So make sure that your store is set up correctly to begin with before you ever launch. I got my first sale very quickly. I think it was only a day or two, and my first sales started coming in. I don't know if this is normal or not, and also you have to have a good product. So it could be luck. It could be that I launched at the right time, which is something else you want to think about. You want to launch your products in a good time. I think launching in the middle of summer would be really difficult. I waited until fall to launch my store, and strategically, with having seasonal products in my business, I knew that that would be the best time. So although I got approved earlier, I did not launch my store until I thought people would be searching for those items to buy. So definitely keep that in mind too. Summer is normally a slower retail time and most stores are not ordering. Also, January, February can be a little bit tough because people are getting out of the holiday stuff and running sales, and just, it can be a slower time in retail depending on your product. Can you get sales without bringing in your own customers? Absolutely. I have not brought any customers to Faire. I do have the link on my retail site, but I think I've had just a handful of people use that. And Faire has really driven all of the traffic to my brand. So you can absolutely get sales without driving your own customers. That's what they're there for. That's what you pay the fee for. They want customers to buy from you. I have done Facebook ads to my retail store, which in turn has driven wholesale customers to my Faire store. And I talk about that in the last video I did a little bit, but that's the only way I've ever driven some customers to my store. Can you switch people over to your own website after they find you on Faire? Okay, this is a tricky one for me. I have not done this, and here's why. In the beginning, when I put my products on Faire, I just looked at it as a bonus to my business. My goal was to really drive the retail side. So in 2023, when I made over 50,000 on Faire in a few short months, it was a shock to me. I was not expecting to have the wholesale side of my business be as big as the retail side. So once I did this and my eyes were a little bit open to people wanting my items for wholesale, I did think about pulling customers from Faire and moving them to my own website. But I will say that I felt like Faire did all the work. I felt like it was a platform that they were allowing me to sell on. And yes, they charge all these fees, but if you can work that into your price, you really have to do nothing and sales will come to you. So I was willing to pay for that service. That's all it is you're paying for this service. And I think it's a pretty great deal. So I've never focused too much on siphoning customers from Faire to my own site. Now, with that being said, in the future, I do have a plan set up to start driving wholesale customers to my own wholesale site. I'm not gonna get off of Faire. I'll leave my Faire account. I'm not sure how I'm gonna handle those customers. I'll more than likely leave them there. A lot of them have Faire Direct, and so they get free shipping. And until I'm sure I can offer the same type of service and discounts that Faire offers, I'm just going to leave them put for now. And I know all kinds of people have told me I'm leaving money on the table, a lot of money. But it's just not something I'm focused on right now. I'm focused on trying to grow my own wholesale site and just letting Faire work for now. Have I used Faire ads? I did. I tried out their new service for running ads on their site and I saw zero back. I spent a couple $100 and no views, no sales. I mean, it was crickets. And so I shut those off. Maybe I didn't even spend a couple hundred, maybe $100, $150, but I saw no traction at all. And so I shut it off. I know it was a new program and maybe they'll change some things with that in the future that you can target people better, but I have not seen anyone having good luck with their advertising. How do I know if my margins are big enough to sell on Faire? You're gonna have to work backwards on this one. So know ahead of time that Faire takes a lot. It doesn't seem like much when someone says 15%, it really doesn't seem like that much, but they do take 15% plus the $10 on each first order from new customers. So it is a bit of a hit, especially on that first order. And then you also have to factor in the payment fees that they list. Depending on when you receive payments, there's different fees. So that's something, those items you have to factor in. You also have to factor in your packaging costs. If you have to ship in a box, a poly bag, your label for shipping, even tape, packaging materials, labor, all of these things are costs that need to be added to your items to make sure that your margins are high enough. Something else to think about is when I have products shipped, for the most part, I try to ship them via ocean and occasionally I have to go via plane. So when I'm figuring my costs on Faire, I always make sure and factor in the highest shipping cost possible. That means if I run out of something, I can quickly place an order and I know that the air freight is already included in my cost. So across the board, I use the air freight on my items, unless it's a one-off item where I've shipped it in on the ocean freight and I'm not going to sell it again. It's kind of a one-time deal. Then I obviously use that cost. But for the most part, I always use that air freight cost. Then you obviously have to factor in how much you're making on each item after that, because you obviously have to make a profit. So just make sure that all of these items are factored in before you list on Faire, because you certainly do not want to start listing products, getting sales, only to realize that you're not making any profit. I think that's all for questions for today, but as always, leave any more questions below and I'm happy to answer those. Have a great day.